Boys and girls, this is the Game Thoughts. We just wrapped up Mafia the Old Country, and I don't know if I would say I have a love-hate relationship with the game, but I simultaneously loved it and was disappointed at every turn. We'll get into the positives first, then we'll go into some of the things I don't like and some of the expectations that we have for the next one. We do a lot of videos like this as well as streams and shorts. Try to stream a couple times a week. We do a lot of multiplayer stuff. We got a lot of Battlefield coming. We got a lot of Ready or Not coming with co-op. Just check the channel out. Been going at it about 5 years. We're getting some good growth now. Been gaming over 30. Let's get into the review though. I absolutely love the storytelling, the writing, the characters. The driving mechanics felt great. The shooting for what it was fine, but the cover system, the melee system, the mechanics for almost everything in the game, they really did feel archaic. And then we have to talk about the $50 price tag as well, because all of that is affected by the $50 price tag. But a lot of us have been gaming long enough to know that should not indicate you being able to be allowed to just completely ignore some things, cut corners the way that they were cut. The lack of polish on something that was supposed to be so cinematic was very disappointing. Enzo as a character is great, and everything about, you know, the actual narrative of the story is good. I don't want to ramble about that too much, but everything about the game itself, almost everything, is mediocre or okay at best. Now, I don't need it to be the most, you know, grandiose, brutal thing ever, or the most polished experience in the world, but I had literally had times where I was trying to transition just from cover to one of the walls you have to go in between, and Enzo's just standing there like an idiot. I'm very good with my controller. I know what I'm doing. It just would not respond, and then you get sniped for no reason. The knife fights in general, I like the concept, and that was a very, very cool concept, but the execution and the lack of polish on those fights was almost laughable at times. Down to you can be doing nothing but hitting the dodge button and it just not respond to you. Now I'm sure different people had different problems with that. Maybe some people didn't at all, but I'm going off of my own experience, of course. They have got to do better on so many aspects for this game and for this franchise for the next one. And I don't need everything to be 20 hours. I don't really care about that. They should have had the free roam mode out right away with the game. Either way, it's got a 13-hour, about 10 or 13-hour runtime. By the end of it, with what happens, the whole like last 30 minutes to an hour is pretty much padding, and not even having, well, it has stuff to do with the character, but or the story, but it's just like I don't want to be different. Anyway, I don't want to spoil too much. Sorry. I don't know if I would even recommend the game. That's the thing. And as much as I want to keep $50 titles, if that's all that's going to happen, the same with some Game Pass games, as much as I love Game Pass, and I guess really more than the review, that's what I want to talk about, is the $50 titles and the budget games should not be able, or like the thought process shouldn't be, well, we don't have to work as much or polish as much because we're not charging as much. And you can feel it and see it through and through with a lot of these games. And the Mafia franchise and the Mafia series is a very important one in the grand scheme of things. Now, it's not as big, doesn't have as much money, even a different team is making it, but it was a different side of the Grand Theft Auto. You know, more narrative. You had your open world in Mafia 3, but that was the weaker part of the game. The handcrafted things you went to out of the open world was cool. The music was good. The open world itself was bland. But for the fact of them having a store in this game and having different clothing options and all the things like that, and to not even have the free roam available, I think even with the $50 price tag, that's ridiculous. That being said, it is coming with a free update, and we will be checking it out whenever that does happen. So I'm going to switch fully over now to spoilers and talking about the game itself. I pretty much, not beat for beat, but I kind of guessed and figured out what was going to happen very, very fast. I knew Isabella was going to get Enzo at least in some trouble. And Cesare was a great character and a great friend, but I knew as soon as they gave us the promo and gave us the love and not him, I knew his ego wasn't going to be able to handle it. It's a tragic story and it's sad, but and even though I guessed everything, the way they built it and the way they did the character arcs and all that was mostly good, and I did enjoy that. Now at the very end, having to play as Isabella and all that should have just been a cutscene. I don't want to be Mary Jane. I don't want to be Isabella. I want to be whatever the character is that you showed me on the box. I don't want to play as anybody else, especially their girlfriend. Or if I'm playing as the female protagonist, I don't want to play as their boyfriend who doesn't do anything or have anything to do with nothing. She was just the love interest. That's how it should have stayed. And at the end of the day, I kind of don't like her character because she got us killed. That's neither here nor there, though, I guess. But to me, it's pretty important. I really enjoyed the narrative, really disliked most of the gameplay, and for me, even if you are having a budget title, when you're making something that's a short narrative experience, it needs to be extra polished. It needs to have the attention to detail. Everything should be perfect and immaculate. And clearly this one needed another year in the tube. It's okay though. I really hope for the next Mafia game we get a better, bigger open world experience. Or if they're gonna do the linear narrative, they need to expand it. It does need to be like a 30-hour experience. I want to do more of going to people's bases and clearing them out. I want to have some pickups and some side missions and stuff like that. We want that kind of stuff. We want the gangster experience. And it's the time period and the timepiece and the backdrop of that makes it more interesting and makes it not just another Grand Theft Auto. Anyway, let me know what you think about Mafia the Old Country. I really don't like to hate on games, but I was excited about this one, and I almost felt like it was a comedy at times with how bad some of the stuff was, but then at other times it was truly impressive with the visuals. But with that said, if you're just going to make good cutscenes, make a movie. Alright, we'll be back very soon. Gamescom is coming up. We got all kinds of content for y'all. Game season is officially here. This has been the Game Thoughts. Thoughts, some opinions, trolls, strategy. Later, y'all.